Hi friends, this is CA Kiran Kumar. In this video, let's start the GST series as we discussed in the previous video. So we are starting the GST series with GST registration process and we are ending the same with the departmental issues. So before starting the video, please go to the Telegram link so you can download the ebook. Whatever I am explaining here, you can download the same from Telegram link and you can take a handy while I am explaining to the video. So coming to the registration chapter, before going to the practical concept, we should know what is the background of registration, what is the limit and who are liable for registration likewise. So let's start this concept. So who is liable for registration? The person liable to registered under this act in the state or union territory other than special category state where he makes taxable supply of goods or services or both if his aggregate turnover more than 20 lakhs in case of normal state and 10 lakhs in case of special category state. So who are exceeding this limit are mandatorily required to obtain the GST registration. So if the supplier exclusively making supply of goods will be liable to GST registration if his aggregate turnover exceeds 40 lakhs rupees and in case of special category states 20 lakhs. But some normal category states have chosen to continue the existing aggregate turnover limit and some special category states also have opted for increasing the limit to 40 lakhs. So you can clearly see here I have given the list of states to whom the aggregate turnover limit is applicable, and based on this turnover you have to apply for registration. Suppose if you see normal category states, Puducherry exclusive supply of goods, Puducherry and Telangana, they have continued with the existing turnover limit. So up to 20 lakhs only. Even in case of supply of goods more than 20 lakhs, GST registration is mandatory, and for exclusively supply of goods or services also the same limit is there. So if you see for the remaining states are going with the increased limits, that is 40 lakhs and 20 lakhs respectively. When you come to the special category states, these four states are going with 10 lakhs limit, and in case of supply of goods and services also they are going with 10 lakhs limit. So Jammu and Kashmir and Assam, Himachal Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, up to Himachal Pradesh, they are going with 40 lakhs limit. Likewise for the normal category states, and 20 lakhs for the suppliers who are making both supplies and services or both. So how to calculate the aggregate turnover for the purpose of this limit? This aggregate turnover limit includes taxable supplies, exempt supplies, exports, interstate supply of persons having the same PAN be computed on the basis, because a business having multiple businesses in the different states, they have to apply for GST registration on the same PAN. So he has to calculate that all turnovers of different states for the purpose of aggregate turnover, and you have to exclude taxes, that is CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST, and also compensations you have to exclude. And one more thing, value of inward supplies liable to RCM. Value of inward supplies means purchases, you are taking purchases which are liable for RCM. Suppose you are taking security services, so your RCM basis means normally the supplier is liable to pay tax to the government, but in case of RCM, a recipient is liable to pay tax to the government. So if you are taking security services, then you are liable to pay tax. So that turnover should not be included while you are calculating for aggregate turnover. And number 2, every person who is registered under earlier law, that is excise, VAT, service tax, need to be registered in GST as well. And third point is, when a business which is registered has been transferred to another person as a going concern or demerged, the transferee shall take registration with effect from the date of transfer. And if you see, in some cases, as per section 24, there is, irrespective of the aggregate turnover, irrespective of his aggregate turnover, they are required to register under GST. Let us see, a person making interstate supply means he is supplying from Andhra to another state, that is Telangana. It is irrespective of the aggregate turnover, he need to be registered under GST. However, threshold limit of 20 lakhs is available in case of taxable services and notified handicraft goods. Means you are providing goods, you are supplying goods from Andhra to Telangana, then GST registration is mandatorily required. Other than the goods should not be the notified goods. If the goods are notified goods, then 20 lakhs limit is applicable. And at the same time, you are providing service. Suppose you are providing audit service from Andhra to Telangana, that is interstate supply. Since because it is a service, GST registration is not required based on the threshold limit. If he exceeds the 20 lakhs turnover limit, then it is required, even in case of taxable service. And number 2, casual taxable person making taxable supply. This person is also irrespective of the turnover, he is liable to get registered. Let us see who is casual taxable person. As per section 27, casual taxable person is a person who occasionally, not regularly, occasionally takes the transaction involving supply of goods or services or both in the course of furtherance of business, whether as a principal or an agent or any other capacity in a state or union territory, whether he has no fixed place of business, then he will be called as casual taxable person. If such person, casual taxable person, is making taxable supplies, then he also required to be registered irrespective of the aggregate turnover. We will explain in detail in the last about the casual taxable person. However, threshold limit of 20 lakhs is available in case of interstate of supply of notified handicraft goods. Handicraft goods means goods predominantly made by hand, not involving any other automatic machines. And you can check the handicraft goods in notification number 21/2018 given notification. So if casual taxable person is supplying interstate supply of handicraft goods, then only this threshold limit is applicable. Otherwise, if he is supplying normal goods other than handicraft goods, irrespective of the aggregate turnover, he is liable to get registered under GST. And point number 3, who is required to pay tax under RCM basis? Means generally the supplier is liable to pay tax to the government, but in case of RCM, recipient is liable to pay tax. Recipient is liable to pay tax to the government. So who is liable to pay tax under RCM basis? They are also, even the turnover is below 20 lakhs or below 40 lakhs, he is liable to get registered under GST. So number 4, non-resident taxable person making taxable supply. Who is non-resident taxable person? Non-resident taxable person means who is not a resident of India but who occasionally wants to effect the taxable supplies from any state in India. So non-resident taxable person is also need to be registered under GST. So number 5, every e-commerce operator, example Amazon, Flipkart and Myntra, irrespective of the turnover, they need to be registered under GST. But e-commerce sellers means who are using that platform of the e-commerce operator are not required to be mandatorily registered. They have their own aggregate turnover. So even suppose you are you want to sell some goods through Amazon or Flipkart or Myntra or something, so you will get benefit of a 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs limit irrespective of whether you are selling electronically or normally. So number 6, providing taxable supply of goods or services on behalf of other taxable person, that is agents of the suppliers, are need to be registered under GST. So number 7, input service distributor. Input service distributor is a big concept. I will explain in the input tax credit chapter. So for the time being, remember, like, input service distributor means if you have head office and branches, if you want to distribute the input tax credit between the head office and branch, they need to be registered under GST. So I will explain in detail on the input tax credit chapter. So for the time being, I am leaving here. And number 8, the person who are supplying online information and database access or retrieval services, generally we will call it as OIDAR services, from a place outside India to a person in India other than a registered taxable person. He is also need to be registered irrespective of the aggregate turnover. Let us know what is OIDAR services. Examples of OIDAR services are like advertisement on the internet and providing cloud services. Cloud services means like Google Drive, where we will regularly use, if you know the email, and Dropbox and Microsoft Azure, etc. And providing ebook and movies and music softwares via internet itself. So it is basically providing online data, online retrieval of services, also providing data information retrieval or otherwise to any person in electronic form through a computer network or online gaming, providing streaming. This will be covered under OIDAR service. So majorly these 8 persons are covered under mandatory registration without any aggregate turnover benefit. Up to now we have seen who is liable for GST registration, but we can see now who is not liable to registration under GST Act. So the person engaged exclusively in the business of supplying goods or services not liable to tax are wholly exempt from tax. One person is there, he is only providing exempted goods or nil rated goods, there is no tax on the goods on which he is supplying, then he is not at all required to be registered under GST. So number 2, an agriculturist, to the extent of supply of produce out of the cultivation of land, also he is also not liable for registration. And a person making only RCM supplies, suppose earlier we have discussed about inward supplies liable to RCM, means suppose you have taken services from security guard, so you have to pay the RCM. The security guard is free from the RCM, so the liability to pay on the services on the recipient, so there is no need to pay by the supplier like security guard or lawyers, advocates or some other persons. I will detail explain about RCM concept in the input tax credit chapter. So that type of services you are providing only RCM services, the liability to pay is on the recipient and you are exclusively on RCM services only, then you are not liable to get registered under GST. So basically these 3 persons are free from registration. And section 25 about procedure for registration, the time limit to apply for registration under GST. Up to now we have discussed about who is liable, who is not liable for registration. Now we can discuss about the time limit for GST registration. The person who is liable to registered under the previous sections what we have discussed now, he should apply for GST registration within 30 days from the date of he is become liable for registration. And in case of casual taxable person, non-resident taxable persons, so they have to apply at least 5 days prior to the commencement of business. So they have to apply the registration, then only they can start the business in case of CTP and NRTP, non-resident taxable persons. So this is regarding time limit. Now we will see the registration requirement. One registration per state. Actually GST is not a centralized registration system. So if you are doing business in multiple states, you have to apply for registration in multiple different states. If you have branch in Jharkhand, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and you have head office in Bangalore, you have to apply for GST registration for all these 5 states. So you have to apply for registration per each state, and separate registration within the state for different place of business is optional. Generally you have additional place of business, you have a branch. If you have head office in Bangalore, if you have a branch office also in Bangalore, if you have 2 to 3 place of businesses, that is your option to get the registration, but it is not mandatory. But it is recommended to take a single registration, because of taking too much of registration it will be confusing for you also. So it is recommended to take one registration per state. You can take the multiple registrations also based on the place of business, but it is completely optional, and different registration need to be obtained for different nature of business mandatorily. Suppose if you have head office in Bangalore and you are doing a business of retailers, or you are doing a clothes business, and if you have additional business that is a rental business, or you are doing jewelry business, so you have a different verticals of business, so you have to apply 2 different registrations for each type of business, because it will be treated as a distinct person for each registration. So based on that you have to take different registrations if you have different verticals of business. And PAN number is mandatorily to eligible to get the registration. GST registration itself is a PAN number based GST and unique identity number for specified organization. Any specified agency or United Nations organizations or any multilateral financial situations or organizations notified under United Nations Act 1947, or any embassy of foreign countries, or any other person notified by the commissioner. You can take the example of World Health Organization and International Labor Organizations. These persons will get a chance to get unique identification number. They can get the unique identification number from the GST portal. Unlike the GST number, they will be allotted unique identification number. Now procedure for GST registration we will see practically. It is a practical part, so you will see on the GST portal. If we come to the practical part of GST, you can go for GST registration. You can go to the GST portal, under services tab you can see registration. You can click on registration and you can click on new GST registration. It will show like this, new registration, and you have to see one more thing. This is temporary reference number. Once you have applied for this process, actually the whole GST registration is a 2-step procedure. Step 1 is to fill up all these details and you have to go proceed, and you will get OTP. After that you will receive a temporary reference number after completion of part A. So based on the temporary reference number you have to click on this proceed. After that you are liable to fill up all the part B details. That is, I will show all these details one by one. So if you come to the new registration part, if you see the total type of applicants, you can see the different type of applicants. Taxpayer is there, tax deductor is there, tax collector is there, GST practitioner is there, and you can see non-resident taxable person. You have to apply separate form for non-resident taxable person, but in case of casual taxable person, because you are combiningly studying casual taxable person and non-resident action on a simultaneous basis, but you have to apply for separate registration form for non-resident taxable person, but casual taxable person form is common. You have to apply like a normal regular form, like you have to click on taxpayer and you have to proceed. I will show in the next step of registrations where you can find it out, the taxpayer details. So United Nations body and consultancy, consulate or embassy of foreign country, I previously mentioned about this. Consulate or embassy of foreign country will get unique identification number. To get the unique identification number, they also have to apply for UAN number by using this procedure. So other notified persons and non-resident online service provider, this is applicable for OIDR services. So I am selecting like a taxable pay, normal taxpayer, and you have to select the state and district, legal name of the PAN number, legal name of the business, and permanent account number, and you have to fill the email address and mobile number, and you have to fill it on the characteristics, and you have to proceed. So for the ease of explanation, I have taken all these as screenshot and explaining one by one. So once you fill all those details what I have shown in part A, you will get OTP. It will ask for OTP, so it will go for email one OTP and mobile OTP also. You have to enter these two OTPs. You will get TRN number like this. Your temporary reference number is something, and it will be valid up to 15 days. So within 15 days you can apply for part B also. So after this, you can, after within 15 days at any time, you can fill part B. I will explain what part B in registration process. After that, you have to click on this tab. Already I have shown temporary reference number. You have to click this, and by using these numbers you have to proceed, and after that you will receive an OTP and you have to enter, and after that it will show like this. It will show creation date and it will show expiry date also. In the TRN number it will show 15 days. So that 15 days you have applied on 15th June, and the expiry date is 30th June. So within 50 days you have to apply. You have to click on this and you have to take the action. So after this you can see the form B. It will, once you click on this, you will open for part B of registration process. So there are different tabs. It will ask for the business details, promoter details, authorized signatory details, authorized representative details, and principal place of business, additional place of business, GST details, and specific information details, and last one is other authentication. After that you have to do verification. After each step you have to observe this thing. It will show some percentages. So how much you have to fill, up to 100% you have to fill. So if you click on business details, it will show these details. You are applying for composition. Composition is a different chapter. I will explain it in a input tax credit chapter. So if you are applying for composition, in general, for the time being, composition taxpayer means they are not eligible to take any input tax credit. They have to simply pay GST on the taxable turnover itself. So you have to choose, if you are applying for composition scheme, you have to choose upon these three, and you have to click on acceptance. You have to give the declaration. So if you are not applying for composition, you can leave it as it is without clicking any button, and you are applying for casual taxable person. So based on your requirement you have to select the options. I have already told you that non-resident taxable person is a separate form, and casual taxable person is the same form as we are applying for the regular form. As a taxpayer you need to choose for the casual taxable person. So 90 days you can apply for the period. So if you click on this, you have to pay the liability advance amount. What I told in the CTP, the advance amount after registering net input you can calculate, and you have to pay IGST this much and CGST this much, UTGST this much and cess this much, and you have to generate the challan and you have to make the payment. If you click on no on this, you are not required to do anything here if you are not a casual taxable person, and then you can click on no and you can proceed further. So if you are not a casual taxable person, it will ask like this: what is the reason for applying? Whether you are crossing the threshold limit or you are providing interstate supply. You remember I have already mentioned, for the interstate supply you are required to apply for mandatory GST registration without any threshold limit. So it is asking like this: liability to pay a recipient or transferor business. I have already mentioned the recipient who are transferring the business, the transferee is required to apply for GST registration. In that case you have to apply. And death of a proprietor, you can apply for the new registration, or demerger case, and change in constitution of business or merger case, and e-commerce operator I have already mentioned previously, and selling through e-commerce portal. For this 20 lakhs limit will be applicable, and for the e-commerce operator it is not applicable. So on voluntary basis also you can choose. And you can see one more thing: input service distributor. Input service distributor I will explain in detail on the input tax credit chopper. For the time being, input service distributor is if you have head office and branch office, common expenditure there to distribute the input tax, it will be applicable. You have to apply for the registration. So for that, input service distributor is applicable, and based on that you have to choose your respective category, and you have to choose the date of registration and on which GST liable to register arises. You have to select the dates, and after that you have to fill all business details, trade name and constitution of business. You have to, legal name will automatically come here, and permanent account also based on the part A. This will come from part A, and you have to fill the trade name, constitution of business and all. Here you have to fill all the required details, district and reason for obtaining and commencement of business. This we have already discussed. And you can give any existing registrations if you have, like if you have VAT registration or service tax registration, you can give here. Partners detail, you have to give the personal information, that is first name, middle name and name of the father, date of birth details, identity information, whether is a designated partner or managing partner or any other partner. You can give the details, and the residential address you have to give, and you have to upload the photograph of the person who of this respective director. You have to upload the photograph size, and if he is a sole proprietor of that business and he is the authorized person of this business, here you can, if he is the authorized person, then he can click here yes also. If he is the not authorized person of his own business, some other person is the authorized person, then you have to fill the details of other person, authorized person details here, authorized signatory details. Here you have to click here. You have to click primary signatory. You have to click on this, very important, and you have to fill all the personal details of authorized signatory, name, details, and what is the power of him, and he has to upload the photograph as well, like what he has done for the directors, and he has to give proof of details of the authorized signatory. So after that you have to click on save and continue. And here if you see, do you have authorized representative? Authorized signatory is different from authorized representative. If you click on yes, it will ask for whether GST practitioner or other. It will ask for the details. So once you click on these details, once you complete, you can click on save and continue. It will take to the next page, that is principal place of business. You can see the principal place of business details. So you have to click all these, you have to fill all these address details, and you have to select central jurisdiction. You have to commissionerate, you have to select a division and range and contact information and nature of premises, and you have to, if it is rental, you have to upload rental agreement. If it is own property, then you have to upload the respective property details, and you have to fill the nature of business act. After that, you have to click on save and continue. Then it will take to you the next page. It will ask for the additional place of business. It will show number of additional places. You can select 2 or 3. Based on that, you have to add here and continue if it is over, and it will take to you next page. So it will ask for the goods and services details. Goods and services HSN codes we have to apply at least 5 top 5 commodities you have to upload here, and you have to click on save and continue, and it will take to you the next page, bank accounts. Bank accounts, you can see account number, you can see the account number, you can see the type of account you have to fill and IFSC code, and you have to upload the bank statement as well, and you have to click on save and continue. It will take to you the next page, that is specific information. It will ask for the professional tax, employee code. These are all not mandatory. You cannot see any mandatory field or red mark here, so it is completely optional. You can click on save and continue. After that, you have to fill Aadhaar authentication. This is most important. Aadhaar authentication registration. If it is successful, Aadhaar authentication is successful, registration will be given within 3 days itself. So for Aadhaar authentication, you have to click yes here. So it will ask your Aadhaar number, and one hyperlink will come to your Gmail, and you have to click on that hyperlink. You will get an OTP, and you have to validate that OTP. Then only you can see whether the Aadhaar authentication is successful or not. This whole process will be done after applying for verification only. I have already done a video on the practical video of Aadhaar authentication. I am attaching the same on the description. Please check. So you have to enter the details of this, and you have to select to whom you need to do Aadhaar authentication with. You can have more than one director if it is a company. So you have to select the proper authorized person. Based on that, you have to select Aadhaar authentication to his email ID only. Authentication hyperlink will go to this email only, and after that you have to click on save and continue. So here you have to do verification. So you have to submit this application either through DSC, or one OTP will come to your registered mobile number, whatever you have given here, the mobile number, the OTP will come to the same number. You have to verify the same. So this is practical part of GST registration. You have to do GST registration process like this. Now we will see section 26, that is deemed registration. Deemed registration is nothing but the name itself automatically accepting the registrations. So the GST portal will automatically accept the GST registration and provide GST certificates to the taxpayers in 3 cases majorly. Let us see the 3 cases whatever. So in case of proper officer fails to take action in the following cases, these 3 cases, if he has failed to take the action against these 3 cases, then the application for grant of registration shall be deemed to have been approved. Let us see the cases. Case 1. Person successfully undergoes for Aadhaar authentication. The person has already opt for Aadhaar authentication and it has done successfully, then no action within 3 days from the department has taken after submission of application, then it will be deemed that he will get the registration, and the GST portal also will automatically accept the application and provide the GST registration to the taxpayer. And in case of person fails to undergo Aadhaar authentication and doesn't opt for Aadhaar authentication, it will take 21 days in general if the Aadhaar authentication fails or if he doesn't opt for Aadhaar authentication. And after 21 days also the department has not taken any action against the application applied by the taxpayer, then it will also be treated as a deemed registration. The GST portal will automatically accept the GST registration. So, and number 3, case 3, proper officer issues notice asking for clarification or any other document from the applicant, and the applicant replied within 7 days by giving the clarifications and documents submitted, but the department has not taken any action, then also it will be deemed approved. The GST portal will give GST certificate to the taxpayer. And as per section 27, we have to see the special provisions relating to the casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. We have already discussed who is casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. These two persons are occasional in nature to doing a business, and they have no fixed place of business. So we will see the special provisions relating to these. Previously we have already discussed CTP and under TP that they have to compulsorily get registered under GST irrespective of the threshold limit. They have to apply GST registration first, and then only they can do the business. So at least 5 days prior to the commencement of business they have to apply for registration. And next special provision relating to NRTP is they have to submit self-assessed copy of the valid passport, because the NRTP doesn't have PAN number because he is not a resident of India, so he doesn't have any PAN number. So he has to submit self-attest. He has to sign on that and he has to submit with passport along with the application signed by the authorized signatory who is in India, who is an Indian resident having valid PAN registration. And the period of validity for this registration either by the CTP, that is casual taxable person, or non-resident taxable person, is the time limit specified in the application are 90 days, whichever is earlier. So the maximum time period for the registration time limit is 90 days only. Suppose that if they have applied for 60 days or as per the act 90 days, whichever is earlier, 60 days will be the time period. And the validation of the time period can be extended for 90 days, not exceeding 90 days, but they have to apply before this expiring period. They have to apply before the expiry of the existing GST registration. If that is expired, they have to apply again with the new registration only. So they have to apply before the expiry of that registration by the non-resident taxable person. And at the time of applying for a GST registration, casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person are required to make, this is very important, to make advance deposit of tax in the amount equivalent to the estimated liability after deducting ITC for such period. If they want GST registration, they need to give some advance deposit also, because they are doing occasional business. That to non-resident person is not a resident in India, so government in their safe hands, they are taking some advance. This liability he has to calculate for the respective period on which he is applying. Based on that, after adjusting input tax credit, he has to make the advance amount to the department. So these are the special provisions with respect to the casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. And we have to note one more thing, that if casual taxable person is running business more than 180 days, then it won't be treated as casual taxable person and they can apply for the regular registration of business. So section 28 is relating to the amendment of registration. This is also a practical part, and cancellation of registration and suspension of registration. Cancellation is suspension is there are two cases. One is you yourself cancel the registration by your perception because you have applied for particular reason, or the particular partner or someone expired in that business, then you have to apply voluntarily cancellation. Voluntarily you have to apply for cancellation, and department will suo moto will cancel the registration. So this is the cancellation part. I will tell you how to apply for cancellation in the GST portal. Section 30 is relating to revocation of cancellation of registration, means you are requiring the cancelled GST number. I have already made a video on this for revocation of cancellation. I am just mentioning the same on this description. Please watch below. After registration, we can discuss about amendment of registration. After you applied for registration, after 10 days or 15 days, you came to know that there are some changes in the registration, then you have to apply for amendment of registration. You have to just click on to the GST, you have to log into the GST portal by using the user credentials. Then you can see there are two parts in amendment of registration. There are core fields and non-core fields. You can amend non-core fields and core fields here. Core field means name of the business and addition or deletion of stakeholders and principal place of business. These comes under core fields. And when you come to the non-core fields, it will be like HSN code details and director details, email ID. Other than the important documents, you can click here once you want to amend the GST registration. You can see here, if you have already saved this application, you can go to dashboard and services. Under user services tab, you can see on my saved application. So once you click on user services on my saved application, you can see here how many times you are changing. It will show like this. Once you click on amendment for core fields and non-core fields, it will directly come here. It will show up to 15 days. After that, you have to take necessary action, and you have to click on this, and you have to change the details, like whatever we have given on part B, it will show here. Whatever the changes required, you can edit. You can see on every field, you can see the edit option, so you can change accordingly. And if you want to delete, you can delete these HSN codes and you can add back other HSN codes as well. So like how we have applied for GST registration, in the same way we have to make changes either in core fields or non-core fields. It will take up to 15 days time period to get the amendment. So we have to do the verification like what we have done for the GST registration. So this is for the amendment. So now we have seen amendments of registration as per section 28. Now we can see cancellation or suspension of registration as per section 29. As we have already discussed that cancellation or suspension of registration might be done in two cases. Either by the department might cancel your registration number if you have not filed GST returns or some other reasons, and you can yourself voluntarily can apply for cancellation of registration. We can now see your voluntary registration, how to apply for cancellation of registration. Once you log into the GST portal, you have to click on services tab. Under the services tab, you can click on registration tab. You can see application for cancellation of registration. So here you can click the cancellation of registration and you can apply for. So in my case, it is not allowing for cancellation of registration because I have already done some amendments. While your amendment is on process, it won't apply for cancellation of registration. So this is regarding cancellation of registration. And we can now discuss about section 30, revocation of cancellation of registration. Once you have already filed a cancellation of registration application and you want back the same registration, it will show here itself, it will show application for revocation of registration. You can apply for revocation within 30 days from the date of cancellation of registration as per the GST Act. But now by the Supreme Court, the GST portal has changed that into 180 days. So I have already done a video for the revocation. I am mentioning the same in the description. Please watch. So this is for the day. Thank you very much. For more interesting videos, please follow my channel, subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.